What's up, video creators? Welcome back to the Video Creator Show, where we talk all about YouTube and kind of give our take on different YouTube topics, and more specifically on how to grow on YouTube and make money on YouTube. Let's just be honest. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about all kinds of different YouTube myths, and we're going to be giving our takes on these myths and hopefully bring some light to some things that a lot of people have misunderstood for many, many years on YouTube when it comes to growing and building a successful channel. So, all right, welcome back, everybody. I'm here with Grant. First of all, Grant, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. I'm pretty stoked to talk about what we got here. It's a solid Tuesday, and whatever day the listener is listening on, I hope it is also at least a solid day for you.
Yeah, solid day for me too. And, you know, today we're going to talk about some myths, some things that if you were to ask the question in a YouTube, Facebook group or something like that, you're going to get answers on both sides. Some people are going to be bickering back and forth, and we're going to give our takes on those things. So I hope you're ready to answer some questions. And the first one is about AI. So AI scripts. What are your authentic thoughts on using, ChatGPT or any other copywriting AI software to write YouTube scripts?
Well, so for scripts specifically, I feel that ChatGPT is a great way to generate a rough draft, but then you should absolutely go in and just change some things. I've written a script with ChatGPT, but it was more, I would have an idea for a paragraph, and I would have it generate that paragraph, and I would sort of build it piece by piece using AI to augment things. Now, I think if you're doing something really generic and you're just splooging out videos, like as many as humanly possible, maybe on something that has lots of information already out there, you could probably get away with very minimal changes. Like we've kind of talked in the past about just a short biography channel, biography of Winston Churchill. You could ask ChatGPT, hey, write me a 1,000-word essay on Winston Churchill's life. It could probably generate something that was pretty good, and you wouldn't have to change that much. But generally speaking, if you think that this thing can just generate scripts for you and you won't have to change anything, I think your quality will suffer enough, even if you're making so many videos that it feels like it wouldn't matter. I think you would still be better off putting in like 10% human effort,
Okay, so from what I'm understanding is you're totally cool with it. You think YouTubers should be leveraging the AI to help them write scripts. Does that sound right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then the more abstract your script topic and specific, if you're getting really philosophical, then I think an AI is going to be less helpful for things like that. But if it's just sort of informational, then an AI is going to be, you're going to be able to offload more work onto the AI rather than less.
Okay. I'm not going to lie. I thought you were going to rip ChatGPT apart. Grant, the creative.
Really? Why?
The creative YouTuber at heart. The guy who will spend 12 hours writing a script. The guy who does it for the love of the game over here using ChatGPT. So I guess I can play a little devil's advocate on the other side, although I'm more the business guy who is thinking, how can I pump out, 10,000 videos this next year using ChatGPT? But a lot of people, right? Not myself personally, but a lot of people are against it due to the creative aspect of all these AI things. I mean, you can see people with the avatars, right? The people posting their face using AI to create the artwork, and so many photographers and portrait photographers were just up in arms in the comments section when seeing people sharing these, and just artists in general, graphic designers, like, oh, they'll never be able to use creativity and that kind of stuff. But it doesn't sound like I'm getting that too much from you, does it?
Well, so I feel that these things can augment creativity and kind of get rid of some of the overly simplistic aspects of it. For instance, if I generate an essay paragraph by paragraph and I sort of edit it that way, it saves me a lot of time. Like, how much time does it take you to actually think of what to type in your first draft, right? You can get rid of that stage. So I am a creative guy, and I'm in it for the love of the game for sure. But also, I like it when the game changes, and I think there's a lot of, in your example, portrait photographers. I understand why people get mad about AI when it sources existing art or existing writing, because in a way it's kind of plagiarizing it or getting inspiration from it. And I think somehow a system needs to be worked out where if an AI sources something that you made, you should get some compensation for it. Figure the more times an AI sources it, the more money you get. I don't know, maybe you create an image as an NFT or something so that there's a sort of hard record of this being yours that is attached to a bank account. And, these AIs can just sort of shovel money into your account every time they pull from something that you made. I think that would be a great system, and I'm all for something like that. That way, people who are kind of doing this simple, or I mean, I don't want to say portrait photography is simple. It obviously takes a lot of skill, but it's not like making a painting of, starry sky that an AI can also do very quickly. But I just feel like there's a lot of complexity and tasks that AIs can take care of quickly that I'm all for. I just think it saves time. I hate tedious things.
Yeah.
So if I have to do less of them, I think it's great.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a good point about compensating the original writer, the original artist, and I think there's a lot of legality things that hasn't been really touched upon yet when it comes to AI. Because I saw the other day somebody made a post or something with AI, and somebody took a snippet from there and Googled it, and it was like direct quote from another article that the AI engine had just kind of grabbed and inserted into there, which there's no credit given or anything. You're thinking that these are really custom, but they're not fully, right? You said they're using references and stuff like
Yes.
that, and so that's going to happen. And then another thing that I've seen kind of interesting lately is people are starting to teach others how to use things like ChatGPT, right? Like, so there's a whole flood of courses that are going to flood the market right now on how to use ChatGPT to write YouTube scripts. And you think like it's self-intuitive. You just type in, write me a YouTube script about blank, enter. But I think there's like these prompt, like that would be a prompt. There's these prompt artists or these prompt coaches that are teaching you how to kind of get the most out of it and how to make it so it really delivers something maybe completely done for you or whatever. And anyways, I just thought that was interesting. So that's our first topic of today. And yeah, I think writing scripts and using AI, you definitely want to stay up to date with these things. If you're just going to totally dismiss it right now and be like, I don't like it, and never even test it or even get familiar with it, then you are going to get left in the past for this next kind of AI evolution.
Totally
All right,
agree.
next thing, search versus suggested. We're talking about traffic sources right now on your YouTube videos. This is a big argument. Should you target your titles in your videos more tailored for search, like a search term, or more for suggested, which would mean basically just focus on making it kind of clickbaity, a clickable title? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I guess my first question with that is, so what would that look like, tailoring a video for search instead of suggested? Like how
Yeah.
would somebody go about changing a title around or a description to favor one over the other?
I guess let's think of this in a certain, like tutorials as a niche. So if you're going to target a search term, it would be like how to paint your nails with blank product, something like that, versus, you know, um, a suggested one would be more like painted my nails in less than 40 seconds. There you go. That was a tough example to come up with, but something like that. Like one, you're totally trying to just get the click, right? It's more clickbaity. You would think that with a high click-through rate and whatever the video is about, that YouTube would suggest it to people that are interested in nail polish. And the other one, you're trying to rank for that search term that people are searching for.
Well, so in general, I would say suggested video has a much higher threshold or it has a higher potential to get views for you. Because search, it's most people like yes, they'll search for a video, but that happens less than them clicking on a suggested video. I just think it's more work to type something than it is to kind of click something when you're already floating around the platform. So in general, I would say you should favor suggested over search, and you absolutely can get views from search, especially if your channel is smaller. So I perhaps there's some nuance here with if you have a really small channel, then you may want to prioritize search over suggested so that you can get noticed at first. And then once you're starting to gain some traction, then you can start favoring suggested over search, just because now you've kind of crossed a threshold and YouTube is probably going to be more likely to promote you. Hey there. You probably know the Video Creator Show is brought to you by vidchops.com. What is vidchops.com? Well, it is an editing service that will take the horrible burden of editing off your back. We all know video editing. It's tedious. It takes forever. But what if you had a professional who did it for you? You go to sleep, you wake up, it's done. Wouldn't that be magical? vidchops.com. Hire a professional, save yourself time and energy, and take your YouTube channel to the next level.
Yeah, and I really like that strategy for the small channels because you could go after a search term that doesn't have that much search volume. So, oh, well, it's not going to help me. Well, yeah, because views will start to trickle in. And hopefully, normally, things that don't have a lot of search volume aren't as competitive. So this would be like a long tail keyword, right? Like when I said how to search or how to paint your nails yellow using Maybelline products. There's so many small details in there that you could literally title your video that. It could literally be about that specifically. So when somebody does search for that, then your video is a high quality video. It's going to rank high for that. Hypothetically, and the way you get ranked, right? The way that YouTube actually does rank it is not just for having the exact match title. Like you could make that video, have that exact match title, maybe that gets searched 50 times a month. You're not going to rank number one unless you get that watch time. That's what tells YouTube it's a high quality video. Is when people click on it, they're watching, a good amount. Then you can get ranked. And if that's the case, then those views will start trickling in, like you said. So you can go from having 0 views, and then that's a really good source. That's a long-term traffic source, right? It's not like a trend where you're just going to get suggested all over the place for a week and then it's kind of dead. Like people will be searching that for a long time, and search traffic is great traffic because there's intent behind it. The person that typed that in and hit enter and found your video got exactly what they wanted, and they had a pain, a problem that they were looking to solve, and there you go, your video solved it. Anything else to add on that one, Grant?
No, just reiterating that small channels I think can benefit a lot from search, and bigger ones suggested is definitely more important.
Suggested will allow your video to blow up. Search won't, but it kind of depends too on the content you're making, because I know like a channel called Think Media, Sean Cannell there, that channel is getting most of its traffic, at least when he shared this in a Facebook group or something one time, from search, because they're doing a lot of reviews, camera reviews and stuff, and people are searching for the camera reviews. So it just makes sense there. For my basketball training channel, Baller Bootcamp, that was the only strategy I focused on, which was a long time ago, but I wish I would have tried to figure out how to get suggested more. But yeah, so all my traffic was search. I was making basketball tutorials, how to dribble a basketball, how to shoot a basketball better, how to shoot a left-handed layup, those kind of terms we were ranking for. All right, let's move on to another topic. This question is one that actually popped up on my timeline the other day from Roberto Blake, and he had his take on it, and he was talking about what's better on YouTube, quality videos or quantity videos. And I kind of know what your answer is going to be, but feel free to surprise me again.
Yeah, so I'm always going to favor quality over quantity, there is some subjectiveness to this. So if you're a very creative person and you enjoy customizing things and just making something very different every time, don't betray that by creating way too many videos. Now, you may want to set some hard deadlines for yourself. Like, let's say your videos are kind of complicated. You know, you have to write a 4-page script and edit something and record something. And so let's say once a week, that's how often you can release a video when working hard on it. That might be a very reasonable deadline where you can have a relatively high quantity while still keeping the quality. But it's, you know, I certainly with Treesicle, we kind of betrayed our high quality videos by releasing twice a week after a certain point. And I just think that was a mistake. I don't think that helped the channel at all. I think it hurt it quite a lot. And it's, you have to understand how long truly does it take to make a video of yours? And this is actually kind of a complicated question to answer because
Yeah.
I think somebody who is really creative can kind of lie to themselves and think it actually takes longer than it does because they're being a perfectionist. But if you can kind of clear out the BS in your mind and really focus a lot on being efficient and realistic about what is actually required to make a video, then, you know, you could probably release more often than you actually think. So, yeah, you know, quality is very important, but it depends what you're doing, right? If you're just sort of a news channel and you're a talking head sort of channel, then I think quantity is going to be more important. You're going to need to hop on trends and record as many videos as possible, and just kind of get your stuff out there. But you're not going to have some insane editing techniques or mind-blowing writing. You're just sort of covering events that are happening. So you have to understand what area you're in, and I think you have to be willing to push yourself in terms of how often you're able to release if you are more on the quality side. But then you can't do it too much. So it's very there's a blurry line there.
Yeah. Yeah, those are all good points. I personally am more on the quantity side. I think you need to get them out there and pump them out. Um, because just from, you know, there's so many channels over the years where I've been like, this is a cool channel. Wow, they're getting a lot of views. Let me check out their social blade. Let me look a step deeper and see how many they're pumping out. Let me open like 10 of them in a tab and see, or 10 tabs each video, just cross-reference the dates real quick. Oh wow, they're uploading pretty often. And it seems like whenever I see like the really, really massive growth, that these guys are uploading a lot, and I'm like, dang, they're going 5 days a week right now. Or look at this huge peak on Social Blade, and then it drops down or whatever. But let's look into that huge peak, and it's normally when they're just pumping them out. And for whatever reason, a lot of times it's during that time period that they really kind of hit some substantial growth. So I'm gonna say quantity, although I will play the devil's advocate on the other side real quick and say, you know, somebody I've mentioned before, Mark Rober, he's the guy with the glitter bomb videos, the squirrel videos. He's like an engineer type science kind of videos, but he's like a once a month releaser, and he gets billions of views, but the quality of his videos are like Netflix to me. Like I feel like the amount of work and stuff that he puts into them, and like I said, he's releasing once a month. Like most people aren't going to even be able to get close to that quality. So if you can get to that quality, then I would say go with quality, because it's going to be, you don't have to just be a slave to the camera every day coming up with new stuff. You can pick one video idea, ride with it for a month, make it super special, and that's a great strategy. But
It's
other than that,
a moving target, right?
yeah,
Because it's
yeah. I mean, there's no right answer.
well, it's
Yeah,
there with Mark Rober. I think he's an interesting example because of what you mentioned, where he has a lot of complexity in his videos. I would argue that him releasing once a month is actually pretty impressive.
yeah,
You know, you say he has Netflix quality. I would agree with that. You know, imagine if Netflix released or was able to make an episode of a show every month. I feel like that is like generally speaking with a lot of shows, I feel like it takes longer than 1 month per episode. like between writing and editing and everything. So I would argue that's a pretty manic pace for a YouTube channel to be making content at. So it's his videos are complicated. So once a month is actually, he's keeping the quality but doing a good amount of quantity. I think someone like him could easily try to justify to himself releasing once every 3 months, but that's not what he's doing because he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. And when I say quantity too, I'm talking like 3 times a week. Like I think that's the perfect upload schedule, and from what I've seen and kind of like my personal opinion is 3 times a week. If you could ever get to that, then you're giving your channel a real good chance. I mean, there was a client for VidChops even who I think she was releasing once a week maybe, and then she joined us and she started releasing 20 a month,
Mm.
and it was huge for her channel. She went from I think like 55,000. She was getting about 55,000 views, and then within 5 months she had a 2 million view month, and yeah, I mean it's kind of like okay, what kind of content are you releasing? Great, that's what you're releasing. How many times are you releasing? Once a week. Okay, great. Now, what can you delegate or what can you speed up? What process can you improve so that you can take that same quality that you're doing now? The quality only improves, it doesn't get worse, and you're now doing 3 a week or 2 a week versus 1 a week. That's kind of like what you want to do, I think, is figure out where you're at, what's your bandwidth, how many can you do? Okay, now what can you delegate or figure out a way to where you could do more of that same quality? That's probably the formula.
Hmm. Yep, I agree.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about scripting. Scripting your YouTube videos.
Oh,
I guess there's 3 options when it comes to scripting. Number one, you just wing it. You have one bullet point in front of you. It's the title of your video, and then you hit record. Number two is you have an outline. So you have 4 bullet points and a couple sub bullet points under that. That's your outline. And the third way would be a word for word script. What do you say is the best for, I guess, for YouTube creators to use?
in general, I would say the more simple your script is, the better. So, bullet points in outline, that's going to save you a ton of time. It's going to allow you to riff and kind of learn to have a camera presence instead of robotically, saying whatever is in your script. That being said, like Treesicle's videos, Bonsai Pop's videos, the two channels that I built over the years were very heavily scripted. So, like, very precise scripts. But when I would record a live action video where my face was being seen, I would more internalize the script as opposed to memorize it. And I feel like that was faster and got me pretty good results. But if you can just write bullet points, then I think that's going to save you a ton of time and, again, allow you to kind of develop your camera presence instead of being more of a robot. And I would argue that camera presence is more important than what you actually say, within reason, of course.
Now that's controversial right there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think outlines are the way to go with some bullet points and stuff. But if you do want to script it, it's kind of the easiest way as far as if you're nervous on camera. Like if you get nervous on like talking to the camera with the outline, you keep messing up, you feel like you could never get it, then scripting would be the way to go. And with a teleprompter, that's the easiest way. But you got to make sure that you're not just robotic in reading it. That's my only advice about using teleprompters. You cannot look like a robot just reading off it. I mean, newscasters, they do pretty well. So whatever they do, just do that. I don't know what they do. I don't know how they do it, but they practice, and they learn. So that's what I would have to say about it.
Yeah, a teleprompter can be really helpful. And I mean, kind of as you said, it takes some practice. And even like newscasters, if you're doing something like the news, then that would work well. If you're doing something very opinionated, then I think you could still do it. But there's so much like changes in inflection and cadence when you're speaking from the heart, or at least like trying to make it look like you're speaking from the heart, that a teleprompter with its kind of gradual, consistent scrolling could be hard. But it's this is controversial for a reason. I would say try it. I think a teleprompter is something you can get used to. Personally, I couldn't really get used to it, but I know others who use them a lot and they swear by them. So it's really up to you. This is why, there's lots of arguments about this.
Yeah, like if you have a video that you want to record and say, and it's important that you say exactly what you want to say and what you mean to say. For example, like the recent Logan Paul apology, like he's probably using a teleprompter because he's like, I got to say this right. Just referring to the crypto zoo kind of thing that he went through. He put up a apology video, then took it down. But yeah, a video like that, he's probably using a teleprompter. He's like, I'm not going to say anything that I didn't mean to say, although there is editing. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic before we go down a rabbit hole there. So here's the next question. This is something that I don't know the answer to. You probably don't know the answer to, but I'm going to ask you and get your take on it. Does it matter? Does it help your video if you upload in 4K compared to 1080p?
I think it is helpful. It's not crazy helpful, but if you are able to get 4K kind of in the title, usually towards the end, you might see some people, they put 4K, and I think that can help you. It makes you stand out a bit more, as long as you have enough processing power to work with these videos without wanting to jump off a bridge. Like if it's going to make your editing process super laggy and choppy, then I would say it's not worth it, because you're not going to see some absurd increase in views, but you might see some increase just by doing 4K and sort of having this cinematic appeal, and people can watch you on their TV and be like, oh, wow, I'm using all of my pixels. And that's exciting. That's cool. So I would say it's worth it with very limited success. You might get maybe 10% more views if you're doing something overtly cinematic. Like if you're just kind of sitting in a room talking, I don't think it really matters if you're in 4K. But if you're doing some, there's a guy named Kale Flodin. He kind of lives in a cabin in the woods, and he has all these beautiful shots of the night sky and the forest and animals. Like his videos being in 4K makes sense. But if you're not doing something cinematic like that, then it probably doesn't make sense.
Got you. Yeah, and we're talking about uploading your video actually in 4K. And like Grant said, the only reason to do that would be so people could watch it on a big screen and it doesn't look any less quality or whatever. But as far as filming in 4K, this is a little bit different. It's kind of something that popped into my head. I personally do film in 4K, even talking head videos and everything, for the reason to be able to crop in. We render it out in 1080p, but we record it in 4K so that we can get these crop in close-ups and stuff. Because I know everybody's seen that on YouTube, right? Like it's a trend where people like crop in and stuff, and sometimes it's kind of pixelated. You're like, oh, it's recorded in 1080p, but you zoomed in there a little too far, and it's kind of part of the meme on some videos. But yeah, so I that's a tip for anybody. If you record in 4K, then when you do crop ins and zoom ins, it'll stay high quality if you render out in 1080p. But as far as 4K uploading in 4K onto YouTube, does it help your video perform better in the algorithm? I would say no. I would say they probably give it 0.0000001% advantage over a 1080p video, because it deserves a little bump maybe, but it's all about that watch time, baby.
Yeah, it's way less important than watch time. But I agree with everything you said. The crop in thing is really important. I think that's going to help with the quality. So I think that's good. I totally agree.
Let's go with some camera talk right now. And this could get a little ugly sometimes when people, especially online forums and stuff, when you hear people taking sides over this one. But what kind of camera guy are you? Are you a Canon, a Nikon, or a Sony?
So I used to be Nikon. Now I am Canon. I think I could be Sony, but I just decided to go with Canon because, I don't know, Casey Neistat uses Canon cameras. Basically, the reason I'm no longer Nikon is because the autofocus on Nikon cameras when you're recording videos is terrible.
Mm.
Like I just the one I bought, and I've read this is kind of a consistent issue with Nikon, is they just don't have good autofocus, and that's really bad. Like
Yeah.
if your camera is trying to find your face all the time, it's just uh, it's not a good video. It's not fun to watch. And maybe this is better in their newer models, but Canon and Sony have been so much better at this for so long. I don't see a reason to go with Nikon unless you're just a film photographer or a still photographer. But if you're recording videos, you want autofocus to be good and fast and silent. You don't want loud, slow autofocus at all. It's so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
totally. That's a killer right there. Especially the loud part too, like when cameras are like
I know.
just, and then your mic is sitting right on top of the camera, it's just picking it all up. But yeah, I'm a Canon guy as well, but I don't have a particular reason. I just that's what I got started on. And for anybody that's thinking about buying a camera, like a lot of it depends on what lens you want to use, because some lenses, and I had to learn this the hard way when I bought the Canon M6 Mark II. I also bought the Sigma lens. I think it's the 18 to 35 milliliter in or millimeter. And when I got home, I didn't know, but it didn't have the right mount, so it wouldn't connect onto the camera. And I had to spend another like maybe $170 on a what's called a speed booster that will connect them, but it also allows you to drop the aperture even lower. So now I have like this pretty nice little setup with this speed booster that allows me to get down to like 1.2 for my aperture, which is what gives you the blurry background and helps you in low light.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't really a tech review channel, so we're not going to go any deeper than that, but we're both Canon guys. I know Sony would be my second choice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this next one. I don't know the answer to this, and I might be a big time victim to this because we do run ads. But does running ads on your YouTube channel hurt your YouTube channel? And the reason that it would hurt your YouTube channel is that we talk about average view duration, watch time, that kind of stuff. So if you're running ads, your average view duration on those ads is very, very low because it's an ad. And it'll drop your overall channel's average view duration because of that. What's your opinion on that? Does that hurt your channel or not?
So if you run ads on a video, like you make one of your videos into an ad that YouTube kind of throws in front of other people's videos, then that is absolutely going to hurt your video and your channel in general. But if you make a channel trailer that kind of explains what your channel's about and it's catchy and it's fun and people are interested, and they click on your trailer and then they get taken to your channel page, not a specific video, but your channel page, then I think that can help your channel. But yeah, if you choose one of your videos as an ad, I just think that's a horrible idea. You should basically never do it. But I think if you can generate traffic to your channel and then people can decide if they want to click on something, that could potentially help you. I think it's at least worth trying. It kind of depends on, what you've got going on. If it's something that it's the age old truism. Advertising is most effective when you have a great product. So if your channel is you really truly believe in it, then I think if you're bringing people to it, then at least at first it could be a useful seed to just get some traffic in. And maybe you don't want to do it in the long run, but it could be worth doing in the early stages to get noticed. Again, making a channel trailer, and then people will get brought to your channel page as opposed to a specific video.
Yeah, I like that idea as far as bringing them to your channel page because then you're not, the click is on them, right? They're going to click on something and hopefully watch it for a good amount of time. When if it's just an ad that's popping up in their face, it might be unrelated to what they're even looking at, and they click on it, then they're going to click away and kill it. Now, I know you're not running a ton of ads, Grant.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing on with VidChops is we are running these short ads, maybe they're a minute long or 30 seconds long, that say, hey, sign up for VidChops, click the link right here, head over there, sign up. Those videos are being run, okay, as ads, not to get people to subscribe or anything, but specifically to get people to click and go on to our website.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem and the thing that I'm worried about is those are getting, 10-second views, 15-second views, and those specific videos that are just ads are bringing down my overall average view duration on my videos. Like it's really hard to tell, you know what I mean? Like on to compare my organic videos. Do you think that YouTube has that separated out on their end, or do you think it looks at my channel and says, "Man, this channel has terrible average view duration"?
I would like to think that YouTube is smart enough to know when a video is being run as an ad. That also feels like a weird opportunity for sabotage. Like if you had somebody you didn't like, you could just start running their videos as an ad and just kill their watch time. I believe that actually happened to somebody I knew, and it just seems like stupid that it would work that way. But it might
I
be
agree.
safer to make a separate channel,
And I've
just
heard people say that. That's why it's on this list because I've heard people say, "Hey," or I've seen people even like, why are you running ads on this channel called like something two or whatever?" And it is just nothing on that channel. And I think they're trying to avoid that, whatever hurting the algorithm. So, anyways, yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
yeah, just make a separate channel. That sounds safer, just in case YouTube is dumb and they're clearly not transparent with how this works. And yeah, you never really know. So be careful.
Okay, great. Next question is, does the upload schedule matter? Or not the upload schedule, does the time that you release your video on YouTube matter?
I think it does. I don't think it's crucial, but I think it's another variable that if you do it correctly can get you a little more leverage. So what I like to do is, if I'm starting a new channel, I'll kind of release around afternoons during the week and then mornings on the weekends. And then once I do that, and some videos start getting traction, then I have enough data to where I can go into analytics and YouTube will show you what time your audience is online the most. So with Treesicle, our audience tends to be online the most between like noon and 4 p.m., I believe. So what I like to do is release at the very beginning of that kind of area, where that way you're getting people get the notification, they're already on YouTube, and then they're like, oh, cool, well, I'm not doing anything else, so I'll watch this video. And then you kind of have lots of hours where the video is just starting out in that peak time of day for your audience in particular. So that's what I like to do, and I think it helps. I don't think it's like crucial. The thing that matters most is obviously watch time, but yeah, it's another way to get leverage.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I agree. The anytime YouTube's showing you a stat or an analytic, it normally means there's some weight to it, and you should be looking at it. So that's the reason I'm going to agree with you on that one. Uh, Next thing, I've heard this new kind of crazy thing that someone said in a forum. They said thumbnails don't matter anymore. This is recent. Why? Can you explain a little bit why somebody would say that? Even though maybe
So
you don't agree with it, but just why would they say that?
Right. So I definitely don't agree with it, but why people would say it. So thumbnails, you've probably noticed this when you're scrolling through your feed, especially on mobile. A lot of times videos will autoplay. So people will see text of what is said in like the first 10 seconds. And your thumbnail isn't there for that long if people are kind of hanging over your video in the feed. So one could argue that if you put a bunch of time into a thumbnail, then you kind of wasted a lot of time, and what actually matters is the first part of your actual video. So I still think thumbnail is very, very important and
Yeah.
is arguably one of the most important things. However, keep in mind that the first 5 seconds of your video, you do want it to be something that is catchy, like eye catching, and like I don't think we should put too much credence in this,
Yeah.
especially on desktop. You're still seeing a bunch of thumbnails, and it is worth putting a lot of time into a thumbnail.
Yeah, totally agree. Next one, niching down. Should you niche down? Does it matter? What's your thoughts on that?
So the more you can niche down, the better. if you can, but you also don't want to run out of ideas. So if you're a cooking channel, if you're just generally a cooking channel, then that could be good, but maybe it'd be better for you to be a barbecue channel, because then your audience is narrow enough to where every time you release a video, you know that people are here for barbecue. So, okay, you're always releasing a barbecue video. Your each video is more likely to get a bunch of your subscribers to click on it. Whereas if you're a generic cooking channel, let's say you release a barbecue video, but only a third of your audience cares about barbecue, and then another third of your audience is vegetarian or something. So this is kind of the argument for niching down, is you can really hit your audience as hard as possible every single time because you are on a somewhat limited amount of topics. So I think it's worth niching down. Like with Treesicle, we would cover as few games as possible. So we would tend to do like Nintendo games, indie horror games, and maybe things that were just really popular but weren't in any specific genre. So we kind of had 3 areas that we would cover, but we're still a video game channel. So that's how we niched down, and it worked quite well. So I would say yes, it's generally worth doing.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think it just kind of comes back to like psychology and marketing a little bit, where you want to be the master of one, not the jack of all trades. You want to be the master of something. And so by niching down, you can do that. You can become the master, and that helps you kind of connect with people. They look at you a certain way in comparison to just being the cooking channel, right? You could be the master of barbecue, like you said. Okay, next one, swearing. Okay, this is where we get a little bit into free speech. This is where this podcast kind of steps it up a level. Does swearing hurt your channel?
So the short answer is yes. Yes, it does. It's going to make you much more likely to get demonetized, and you're probably going to get promoted to less people if you do it a lot. I think if you do light swearing, it's not really a huge issue. The biggest thing now is YouTube has a new policy where if you swear at all in the first 15 seconds of a video, then you are going to get demonetized absolutely. So, F-bombs and all that fun stuff, that's going to get you demonetized very early if you do it very early in the video. So the first 15 seconds, and then if a video gets demonetized, YouTube is less likely to promote it because they're not making as much money off of it. So and if in general, I think if you're swearing a ton, you can kind of get on a list, though it's hard to say. I know like Moist Critical swears a lot, and he still gets tons and tons of views. So I don't think this is a hard rule or anything. I think you can kind of I like to look at it minus the very specific things, like don't swear in the first 15 seconds. Like that's a hard rule, but there's kind of a more general philosophy that I follow, which is just, this has always been true. If you're more edgy, I think you are going to have perhaps a smaller audience than somebody who is family friendly, or you're going to have a smaller potential audience rather. Because if you are kind of squeaky clean, then you can potentially have a more generic appeal. Whereas if you're swearing a lot, only some people are interested in that. Like some people, I don't know, they think swearing is just, it's not what they want to see. So I think that's always been true. And these are just kind of general guidelines to keep in mind.
And I think the whole internet as a whole is going to start getting more censored. It has to at some point, because, think about TV, cable television, right? There's minimal swearing allowed, right? And why? Oh, because, a kid could grab a remote and turn on the TV and watch anything, And it's kind of the same like with cell phones now. Kids are having these phones at such young ages where, YouTube is their TV now. So it just only makes sense to me that we're going to start to see just more censorship on the internet. I think it is a problem that needs to be solved, but not one that needs to be solved in this podcast. So just something to keep in mind. I would say, yeah, swearing does hurt your monetization and that kind of stuff, which could hurt your reach. So just be careful with it. I think just use it tastefully, right? If it's going to add something, use it. If not, don't use it. I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk swears in like all his videos, and he seems to be doing fine, but
Right.
he's not worried about YouTube AdSense either. So, he's
Yep.
not a single creator worried about that. So, all right, Grant, is there any other controversial things you wanted to bring up?
Well, perhaps controversy itself. Can controversy actually help you? I think the answer is actually yes, because it brings you a lot of attention, and if you deal with it gracefully, then I think that can help you a lot. If you deal with it badly, then it is going to destroy you. I think Logan Paul, in general, has had a lot of controversies, and the way he's dealt with things is very odd. So he'll usually, when the controversy first breaks, he doesn't take any responsibility, and then there's a backlash, and then he sort of says what he should have said at the beginning. And I guess it works. I don't know. It's like a weird thing that he does. And he's still relevant and things are still working for him. So I think, but then also I think his controversies are more than just like, I don't know, he did something cringe or, it's, if you can get people's attention by doing something kind of on the edge, and then be graceful about it and apologize where it's worth apologizing, but don't apologize where it's not worth apologizing, and kind of stand for something that makes sense and that people like, then controversy can absolutely benefit you a lot and get you a lot of attention, but you have to dance on the knife's edge well. So it's you got to be careful.
Totally agree. Just don't become Andrew Tate. That's
Yeah.
like that's where like you're just trying to create controversy for views, and it doesn't end up well when you do that. So, all right, guys, thank you guys so much for listening today. I hope you guys liked today's episode. If you did, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. We would greatly appreciate that. And remember, this episode is sponsored by vidchops.com. VidChops allows you to add an expert video editor to your team in just a few clicks. So if you want to add a video editor to your team, head over to vidchops.com. We will see you guys in the next episode.
Later.